Do you know what's the best thing about summers in Berlin? We don't have a beach. People go to lakes like it's a 70s slasher movie. And lakes have trees, and trees have shadow, and shadow is good for your fresh tattoo. If you live in a beautiful sunny place near the sea and you're reaching for a new piece, you don't have to wait until the fall. Don't worry, just take a plane and come here. You can have some fun during the weekend, which here lasts until Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, then a day or two of recovery, and then boom, new tattoo. Click the link in the description below and fill in the booking form. Hola, Pato. Welcome one last time before the end of the season. I've been slowly teasing it throughout the last few episodes. It's finally here. It's time for us to say goodbye. I'm gonna go on a summer hiatus, well-deserved break. For you it is, not for me, because I will continue shooting these episodes and just putting them in my pocket so that the shooting schedule next year is not, or like next season rather, is not as crazy as it was this year or this season. I'm a little bit cloudy today. I didn't get much sleep. But you know, what's new? That's kind of part of the gig when you're a parent. But besides that, I'm feeling really good. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like, I think the best word to describe the feeling that I have is almost like, perhaps, fulfillment would be one. I feel fulfilled. This whole process, this whole endeavor, this whole experiment with the YouTube channel has caused a lot of stress. It has low-key invaded my private life. I'm like editing and cutting and working on thumbnails the whole time, but it feels truly right. It feels like it's exactly what I should be doing right now. I don't know if I spoke about this in the mid-season recap, but it does feel very similar to the way I felt when I started tattooing. It was not only the joy of like, hey, this is kind of cool, and I think I would be relatively good at this or whatever. It's more that feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be at that moment in time. I don't know if this is exactly the thing or this is the thing that leads me to the thing, but I know that this is exactly where I should be. And I can tell by having started a lot of different, I don't know, careers or jobs or creative paths or whatever, I know that everything that feels overwhelming one day will feel almost like routine. So I'm trying not to get like too stressed about it. I'm trying to see that this is not gonna be forever like this, and even enjoy these first few months in which I suck at doing something, and every small little task within the thing is so challenging. So there is obviously a lot to improve, not only, especially on my end, I feel, but also I think just organically, I have been now with different eyes, because I know what I'm attempting to do, and I kind of start getting an intuition of where these should go and whatnot. I start looking around me with different eyes, right? Already looking for specific answers to problems that I'm having, or searching for reference on how to do certain things, or searching for inspiration. And I started getting a more sensitive view to production value when it comes to videos. So yeah, from shooting with an iPhone with like shitty lighting, the microphone improved the things a lot, but it's not the best microphone. So I can see all these things that require some improvement. It will just happen organically. I think one day I'm gonna look back to to the first few episodes, and you're gonna be, and I'm gonna be shocked as like, shit, how was I able to even put those out with this resolution, or look at the pixels of my face, or I don't know, I'm starting to get bothered by the shininess in my bald fucking head. So I think over time, I think when this becomes more of a I don't know, like routine thing, or more of a I don't want to say daily job, but when it becomes more of a, god damn it, I don't know. You know what I mean, right? I think things like that now sound like insane because I just do it since such a short amount of time, like head makeup, or investing X amount of money on lights, or getting an extra space all set up to do interviews. All these things right now, I just look at myself, and I've been doing it for such a short amount of time that I go like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like Howard Stern, shut up and just, you know, go with the resources that you have. But I think all these things will just come organically. So I'm not at all concerned about that. I think the first few episodes will still, anyway, in many years have a certain charm to them. So I'm not in a rush. I'm not bugged by these things. I'm trying to focus on the positive, on the things that I can see already that are getting better, which for me were the make it or break it type of things, right? I knew that all these things would organically improve, but I knew that if I could not work a little bit on the flow, if I could not manage a way to make the shorter clips work, if I could not improve the tone, all these things would not allow me to really do what I wanted to do. Then the level could be lower or higher, but if I don't get these things right, I cannot even attempt to do what I'm trying to do. And for the most part, now, sitting here today, episode 20, it's been about 4 months since I started this. I can see still a long way ahead of me, but definitely an improvement. With the flow, I can see how I get less nervous in front of a camera. I have always bragged about these being unedited and raw and just, you know, stream of consciousness. It is kind of true, but not really. The trick, what I do is I don't cut once I've started, but I have stopped when I think something drags and started from scratch. So I went from starting 63 times to literally go one shot, sit down and accept. If someone rings at the door, sometimes I don't even stop when someone rings at the door. I just stand up, and I've figured out like little editing tricks that allow me to, you know, just poke fun at the fact of how less editing this has, right? And how DIY it is. But for the most part, I think it's not only that I got a little bit more confident. I think that I also figured out how to write the scripts or not scripts, but my pointers are less ambitious when it comes to the ideas that I want to portray in every episode, and the segues from one idea to the other are becoming way more organic. And I think this has to do also with how, you know, how I let every idea guide me to the next, also when writing, instead of just figuring out all the things that I want to talk about and then breaking it down in points, and then the segues feel chunky and whatnot. So the script writing has been much, much better. Confidence in front of the camera. The tone has improved a lot. With the tone, I mean probably the honesty that I needed, right? All the elements of editing were screaming honesty, but then my the way I was carrying myself in front of the camera was the opposite. You could see that I was overthinking things, that I was almost anticipating the backlash in the comment section, and I would get frozen in front of the camera. I've learned to shut that down, just flow, and be brutally honest also with myself, instead of just having a thought in the back of my head and kind of talking in autopilot while I try to process that thought away from the audience. When I freeze, I verbalize it out loud. I don't try to pretend that I didn't lose my train of thought. I just, go for it, and I'm honest, and I just say it out loud. And when I lose steam or interest, or I think that I don't know where the fuck I was headed with an idea, I just drop it, and it has made the tone way more unpredictable, even for myself, because I don't have a scripted idea that I don't have a scripted conclusion that I want to get to, right? I just have these like trigger words that bring me in some directions, and then I make my opinions as I walk through. In the first few episodes, I knew where I was headed, because it's conversations that I had several times already. So it was almost like repeating it for the camera. But as new topics come in, I truly and genuinely don't know where I'm headed with certain things. And I know you can tell. But this is the philosophy that I was after from the beginning. Is a little bit unprepared, not very factual, very opinion based, and very based on my own experience. I could see for a hot minute there in episode, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6, whatever, I was getting too factual and too based on art history and whatever, and that's just not me. I don't want to make research. I don't want to have super elaborate arguments in the comment section and having to, send links to Wikipedia articles. That's just not me. The only thing that I have is kind of like an unusual perspective on the world, and I think it works best when I focus on small little ideas instead of tackling giant topics. And I think, as a friend of mine put it the other day, he said, "Oh, you talked about," I think in the episode that I was talking about Servadillo, you were talking about the influence that someone can have on you despite your work being nothing like them, just by occupying the space that they leave unclaimed or something like this. And he said, like, that applies to my job that has nothing to do with creative work. And it's a unique perspective that I had never heard or even thought of. So I think I'm kind of finding my little corner, and it will be just bringing some light or some new perspective in really, really small things. I think all these contributes also to getting a little better pacing when it comes to talking. And I think in my brain I've edited so many of these short clips that I kind of know how they work also while talking. So they've become increasingly easier and easier to handle, because I think while I'm speaking, I'm already thinking what might be clippable and what not. Then it's a surprise always what works or not. But with these and a couple of dirty editing tricks, which include accelerating my voice by 1.1, by a 10, sometimes 20%, I've managed to really condense the information that I need in these like horrific 1 minute that is actually not Instagram's fault and not not Instagram's fault and TikTok's fault, because they're now aiming for longer content, is YouTube actually, and the shorts that they say that they will never ever cross the minute mark, and I don't want to be editing for 3 different platforms, so whatever goes out on shorts is what ends up being also on Instagram and TikTok. So 1 minute it is. So I think with the captioning, it became much easier. I found AI-based apps that essentially do the work for me. I barely need to edit any of the text. Sometimes some punctuation marks, or when I say someone's name, it confuses it for another word or whatever. But for the most part, I'm impressed with the AI also being able to transcribe perfectly with my accent and everything, essentially everything that I say. So much better flow, much better tone, much better clips. Okay, familia, no more reading exercises. You know what time it is, I know what time it is. It's donation time. We're of course super thankful if you like, comment, subscribe, and share. No complaint there whatsoever. But we also need some money. A man has to eat. That's why we've launched a GoFundMe campaign to collect donations not only for this channel, but also to help support my other 2 projects, Newfop and Hiragana Studio, which are like my babies. And both of them, not one, but both of them, are non-profits that support independent tattooers. The work that I do there is pro bono, which is a really fancy way to say for free. So the cool thing about GoFundMe compared to other crowdfunding platforms is that it's not all or nothing. This means that you don't need to reach the campaign's goal to have access to the donations. So every donation that you send minus a little percentage for the platform will find its way to us and help us sustain these projects. Click the link in the description below, read a bit more about the campaign, and help us continue the good work. So the other thing that I'm really stoked about after, I don't know, when I was teasing the idea of having interviews, I thought, yeah, I don't know, one day, someday, you know, but I had no plan. I had no roadmap to get there. And I think this pressure of the summer hiatus and the 20th episode and being able to use this first season as a little showcase of what the show will end up becoming eventually, put that pressure on me, and I was like, okay, I have to figure out within the next 2-3 weeks before I shoot the last one how to make that interview happen. I'm super happy that my wife could find the time to do that. I cannot imagine a better way to start the interviews than with her. It made me realize that probably the setup that I have that works perfectly for me on my own will never ever work for a friend or a stranger. I don't think it registers when you see it on camera, but we were literally on top of each other for this like L-shaped couch to accommodate 2 people that are kind of awkwardly facing each other. The legs need to be really on top of each other. So I don't think it's the perfect setup to invite artists that I don't know and whose work I admire to have a conversation with me in my living room while they cuddle with me on the couch. So I think this is one of the parts where I'm the most keen on having my mysterious partner come in and figure out how to take care of the interview or the conversation aspect of the show. I would have loved to be able to bring some materialized update to this last episode. We unfortunately did not manage to have that last meeting before the summer break. Not his fault, my fault. Yeah, the day that we were supposed to meet, it was the only day that my wife could make the interview happen. So I thought that was, for now, more important. So I can bring only speculation. Everything is still floating a little bit on the air, but I do know, like I was saying the other day, I was kind of, teasing it a little bit and saying that we both agreed that it's okay on my own, and hopefully it will become better as time passes. But for the most part, this space that I'm creating makes sense when you start bringing guests in. So I think most of our efforts will go in this direction, and I think for that we will need a completely different setup, way much closer to a regular podcast. So probably setting up shop at Hiragana, I could imagine, with like proper radio microphones and a little bit more like sitting face to face in a big table. But all this we will figure it out. But definitely there is as much work to be done, if not more, when it comes to the interviews as I am currently doing with the solo episodes. I could see, despite being my wife, despite us obviously having chemistry and everything and knowing each other and being in our home and in our couch, it felt very awkward. And it doesn't really capture the rapport that we have with one another. I don't know if it's because it was a very like corporate type of content on her end. She has the weight of her foundation over her shoulders, so she cannot be goofing around as much as she would have if the episode was about us as parents or whatever. So I don't know. I think I will need a few episodes with people to figure out how the pacing works in that. I do have the feeling I gravitate towards people that interview by talking very little, and just having these like sniper questions and then falling back and letting the people just flow. I think it would be a nice contrast to so many episodes in which I talk the whole time on my own. I just don't know if I want to make the interview so interviewee, or if it needs to be a little bit more conversational. All that we'll figure out, I think, as next season progresses. I think we're gonna start with some tests. I don't know if those will be ever published or not, but we have a group of dumb boys that we get together and we shoot shit and we watch MMA fights and whatnot. All of them working inside the tattoo industry, and maybe we start by just shooting some fake episodes and seeing how that dynamic works out. These I think and I hope is where my partner will be able to really put a lot of or bring a lot of input in that regard. But he enters mostly as a ad salesperson, if that makes any sense. So I think for the most part, I hope and expect that he has a ton of input also when it comes to the content, but for the most part, content would fall on my lap. I think he would be a little bit more focused on the money aspect of the whole operation, ad sales, sponsors, and the new idea that we're kind of toying around with, which is moving away from GoFundMe. He said, like, are you a trans person trying to get top surgery? And I was like, what? And he was like, I said, if you are a trans person trying to get top surgery. And I was like, no. And he was, then why are you on GoFundMe? Get the hell out of there. It doesn't work. Let's set up a Patreon and let's figure out extra content that you can offer to the community of viewers and subscribers. So I don't know, we have to sit down and see how that would work, but I could imagine that perhaps there's like bonus content when it comes to interviews, or maybe I could, I don't know, if people gravitate towards the way I have of looking at people's work, maybe we could do live streams with some of the subscribers at Patreon, where we do portfolio evenings or we do Q&As. I don't know. Let's see what rewards or what type of content it could be if the whole Patreon idea works, or maybe we have some of the content behind a paywall in YouTube. What I know for sure is that this project can only move forward if it's not only paying for itself, which includes my time and his time, but if it's generating a little bit of revenue. No one expects to get rich, but it's very, very time consuming, and yeah, it's a space that allows for sponsorships and for honest advertisement. For the first time, I'm not going to be ashamed of it. All the podcasts that I love and that I watch have like 1,000 ad breaks, and it is just a way to ensure that they can put more time, more love, and more effort into the podcast that I get for free. So I'm not complaining. I hope you guys don't mind either. So hopefully with a little bit of support on your end, finding a couple crazy sponsors that see potential in this show, and hopefully slowly getting towards the road of monetization, or however you call it, and being able to have like real ad breaks inside the videos, and have that extra little bit of money coming directly from ad sales in YouTube. So maybe Patreon might be one of the interesting new things that is happening once the new season starts. The other thing that I think we're pretty in line with is the fact that these will require an audio version, because I think, yeah, it's so unstimulating to sit and just see my dumb face and hands moving. I think a lot of people would actually listen to it if they could be multitasking and doing stuff while I go on rants. So I think audio version will be interesting, and I think this then presents the question, should it go from a personal YouTube channel where I do videos, which I call episodes, but essentially these little videos, should it move to becoming truly a podcast, right? I think as of right now, my intuition tells me yes. These should go in the direction of perhaps moving away of me as a brand or as a person and become its own thing. I didn't do it from the beginning because I run UFOB and it has its own name and brand and Instagram, and I run the studio, which again has a different name, brand, socials. I didn't want to start a new brand, but I think if you eventually are able to get the podcast in audio version in a ton of different platforms, I think it makes a little bit more sense to search for a show than for me as a tattooer or as a person. I also want to make sure that I leave an open door to potentially someone jumping in, and that this becomes a two-man show if need be, and that not everything spins around me. So I'm essentially aiming to turn these a little bit more into a collective effort, and for it to work, it cannot be all around my name. So I think, the biggest perhaps and fastest change that might happen already in the next episode after the summer break, which would be 21, is that we launch it already under a different name. And I don't know if perhaps the YouTube page would be the podcast, or it would turn into a potential network of different podcasts, so that it could also host other podcasts by other people from our environment, or other, I don't know, topics with the same team. I don't know, all these options leave us more or less room to bring people in, and I think it would be interesting to at least work on the brands in a way that if we so choose, we can have different shows, we can have different people coming in and out of the show, and it doesn't become only me. So yeah, that's more or less where we're at. All these, again, is unconfirmed hearsay. It's all gossipy because I did not have the chance to sit down yet with my friend. This will happen later this week. But yeah, I'm super stoked about this. I'm really happy of the progress that I've seen. This feels exactly where I need to be right now, and all these things that I don't know how to do. Yes, there's moments that bring some frustration, but for the most part, they just bring really fresh, I don't know, hunger and hunger for knowledge and hunger for figuring things out. I feel almost like I just starting a new career, and I think this is overall, maybe leaving aside how much is this helping me to get to know myself, is almost like journaling. It's the closest that I've ever done to journaling, where I can see the way my brain structures ideas and thoughts and weaves sentences together. This has been really interesting. But besides this, I think it's just the idea of starting from scratch on something that you're really bad at, after having been good at what you do for such a long time. It's such a interesting reset of the brain, and it keeps your ego in check. It gives you this, like, I don't know, almost like teenage-like frustration and anger, like, God damn it, this is not working. But when things finally line up, the reward is undescribable. So yeah, guys, this has been an amazing ride. This is by no stretch a goodbye. Every time I try to use like a slangy expression, I get frozen halfway through because I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. So yeah, this is by no means a goodbye. It's just a see you later. We're gonna come back bigger, stronger, better, and even then, this is just the beginning. I can really feel it. This is headed to a really beautiful place. I can see people around me that see the same potential that I see in it, and I'm super happy that you're along for the ride. I'll see you guys in a few weeks, if not months. The concrete date still TBC, and enjoy a great summer. Don't stay indoors. You have one less thing to catch up on and to stare at your phone for. So go out, have some fun, go to lakes, and I'll see you at some point in September, probably.